Welcome, everyone. You are in the right room. If you are an ambitious executive, you are a go getter, a high achiever, you are climbing at the top of your career and you know that you've got more in you. But you feel that you don't want your career to be the only thing that you succeed at. You want to have it all, basically. You want the amazing career. You want to be a peak performer. You want to be recognized in your field of expertise, but you also want to enjoy life. If that is you and you don't want to sacrifice your health, you want to look good, to feel good, to have amazing relationships while having success in your career as an executive, as a CEO, as a startup founder, as a C level executive, you are in the right place. So, right now, you may be feeling a little bit frustrated, or you may feel that you are not getting the recognition that you deserve. You feel that you've got a lot of potential inside of you and you are working hard, but at the expense of having meals with your family, at the expense of really enjoying your life, spending times with your friends, traveling around the world, whether that is in Europe, and really be seeing your children more, and really be having the life, the luxurious life that you crave, but not feeling the weight of the responsibility of your job constantly waiting on your shoulders, robbing your peace of mind at night, and really taking away and draining your energy, robbing you of sleep, of vitality. I get you. You are seen here. I hear you. After working with thousands of executives at this point and leaders around the world in multinational organizations, I know that it's difficult. I know that the weight of the responsibility of shouldering the responsibility of the whole organization on your shoulder is a lot. It is a lot and it takes a toll on you. And that's why you are here. I'm guessing if you are here right now, it's because you are looking for a different way of working. You are tired of sacrificing your health, your vitality, your emotional well being, your peace of mind, your family time, your life at the expense of your executive role, at the expense of your career. And I'm here to tell you there is indeed another way to do things, and that's what we are going to dive deeper into this webinar. Okay, listen, after working with thousands of CEOs and C-level executives at this point, I can see that they all share one thing in common, okay? And that is the stress, the pressure of the responsibility in their role is getting them all leading to being in survival mode. Unconsciously, they are running around with an overfried nervous system, and that is what's really making them have all the things that are being created right now, whether that is burnout, unsurmountable amount of stress, of anxiety, of being worried constantly, of being frustrated, irritated, annoyed at home, feeling drained of their energy, feeling like they are running thin. That is all because they are running with an overactivated nervous system. I want to tell you that this is a safe place and you want to be really honest with yourself. You want to really be aware of how you've been feeling this week. I want you to become aware of how you've been feeling and how, in what zone you've been operating, and I'm going to give you insight on those today. You are going to leave this webinar, if nothing else, you are going to leave with self-awareness on how you've been operating, how you've been feeling, how does that impact your reputation, your team and your organizational climate. You are going to know how your very strength is sabotaging your career. Yes, you heard me right. The very strength that you are so confident about, how that is really playing against you under stress. So you are going to be living here with a lot of clarity, a lot of self-awareness. And if you stay till the end, you are going to get right in your inbox your offensive work rhythm. You're going to get the template to be able to enter your week with confidence, with clarity, with having a lot of insight on what you need to focus on your key priorities, so that you can win your week instead of running around feeling overwhelmed, feeling scattered, and getting distracted by noise and not being able to attend on the things that are going to help you achieve your very goals. So stay till the end, you are going to get that. So let's look at something. You want to really shift your mindset, and that's my aim for today. What if there is one shift in mindset that could totally transform the way that you work? What if you could have a fresh perspective that could change the whole game of how you perform at work right now? So listen, currently you are playing defense. You running around with an overactivated and overfried nervous system is making you run around in survival mode, and we are going to look at that, how that looks like for you specifically. But that is the pattern that comes up time and time again, and if you could switch that around from playing defense to being in offensive mode, from running around being reactive to playing proactively and winning, you would get out of that survival mode and you would feel much more clarity, much more confident, and much more in control in your role. How would you love that? How would you love to leave this webinar knowing that there is another way for you to perform at work? So now that you know you are just one shift of perspective away from completely transforming the way that you work, let's dive into the biggest mistake that I see executives make and that you are making, and you want to be really aware of that, how that shows up for you. Okay, first of all, I want you to start looking at where is your attention and focus is going. For many executives that I work with at the beginning, their focus is on blaming external circumstances. It is their marketplace. They are in a competitive market. It's their team. They are surrounded by B and C players, or so they tell me. They are in a toxic climate at work. It's their boss, it's their board. They are surrounded by colleagues that trigger them, that are toxic. They have a narcissistic boss, or it's really not only their workplace, their external circumstances. They don't have time. It's their family, it's their circumstances, it's external things that leave them frustrated and feeling that they don't have control over what they want. The second mistake I see executives make is, although they are in that CEO role or they are in that leadership role, they are still waiting for permission. They are still waiting for that someone, whether that is management or their board or their colleagues or their team, to tell them that it's okay, they can step up in that leadership role. They have the capabilities. They don't give themselves permission to step fully in that leadership role, and they wait for everyone else to give them that permission. And that is why they are not really stepping into their full power. And that could also look like, as a CEO, they are waiting for the board or for the chairman to give them the salary that they deserve, instead of owning it, owning that they've got what it takes. That's why they are here, and that they should ask for what they deserve so that they can align energetically with their role, because the amount of effort and energy that they give into their work isn't being compensated in return, and they feel a real dip in performance, in energy, and they are frustrated behind the scene. And that's why they can't perform at their best. And the third one, but not the last one, is I see so many executives piling on qualification, get another online MBA course, or running around getting other qualifications to feel that they are good enough, that they have what it takes to perform at the level that they have to as an executive, as a CEO. And don't get me wrong, getting educated, getting qualified, upskilling is important. We all need to constantly do that. But it becomes a problem when, instead of addressing the core internal root of the problem, which is their internal insecurities, and filling that void with qualification. And let me tell you, it's not working. It's not gonna work. No matter how much you pile on the qualifications, you will still not be able to fill that void, which can only be filled with real esteem, self-worth, and removing the internal insecurities and self-doubt and limiting beliefs and lack of confidence with real confidence, with real esteem, real self-respect, and real self-worth. Let's be honest with yourself here. Are you running around getting yourself into situations where you are saying yes when you need to say no, letting down your boundaries to please others because you feel that you are not worthy? Or are you running around taking on more responsibilities, overwhelming yourself with work and overworking till late because you feel that you have to prove that you've got what it takes to shoulder the responsibility of your executive job? If you are doing that at the expense of having a meal with your family, missing out on family time, missing out on your precious sleep, missing out on working out, of taking care of yourself, of attending to your priorities, then we have to address this elephant in the room, the internal insecurities, that the voices in your head that keep you awake at night, the self-doubt that make you second guess your decisions, the internal insecurities that make you not delegate effectively, the low self-esteem that make you say yes when you need to say no to colleagues' requests and demand on your time. We have to address this because it's going to eat you alive, and it's going to rob you of precious time that you should be enjoying with your family and enjoying this executive role. Let's be honest, you've worked hard, you've waited for so long to be where you are at, you've dreamed of this dream position. And now that you are here, are you going to allow self-doubt, low self-esteem, internal insecurities, lack of self-confidence, lack of control, lack of focusing your internal locus of control, where you need to, leads you to frustration, resentment, and resenting the very role that you wanted? That's not how we want it to be for you. For my clients and for you that are attending this webinar, I want much more for you. I want you to be like my CEO client in his first year in his CEO role as mandate. On a regular Tuesday afternoon, he took the flight from Saudi Arabia, flying first class to Paris and sipping coffee and eating croissant on a Wednesday morning, having his team meeting in his luxurious hotel room, dining in Michelin star restaurant with his friends, strolling in Paris, doing his shopping and doing his executive coaching, whilst attending to all his priorities, whilst traveling to Paris, filling his cup, really enjoying his work, whilst not being stuck in his office behind the four walls and making himself think that he has to sacrifice his time, his pleasure, his lifestyle at the expense of his job. And let me tell you, his wife told him, "Who are you? Why are you going to Paris, traveling to Paris for a 2-day vacation whilst you have work to do?" And he told his wife, "This is the new me. I get to work whilst enjoying myself, and I want this for you as the new sophisticated executive. Don't you want to be enjoying your life whilst doing your work? Like you are at a place where you know who you are confident, you have your priorities straight, you are removing the distraction, removing the noise and focusing on your priorities. You know where your attention needs to be. You know where your effort needs to be. You know your strength. You know where you have to be careful not to trip. When you have the support and the mentorship and the external feedback as well as the confidence to know where you are going, you become unstoppable. You become you enter the new era of executive that I'm inspiring my clients and my whole community to step into. And if you are here, you are ready to step into that new era, which is the sophisticated executive. Before we dive deeper, let me briefly introduce myself. I'm Naila Musa. I'm a high performance coach. I'm an executive high performance coach. I'm an occupational psychologist for over 20 years, working with thousands of leaders and companies and organizations around the world around optimizing performance. Being a peak performer myself, do you see me being drained? Do you see me tired? Do you see me irritated and frustrated? No, I'm enjoying myself. I'm serving you. I'm helping my clients and I'm creating impact, all the while enjoying my life in France. I regularly go to Paris, which is 1 hour away from where I live, and I enjoy myself fully, whether that is having brunch at the Ritz Hotel, or strolling around in Champs-Élysées, or reading a book in the library on Rivoli Street, or strolling in the garden in Jardin des Tuileries, or doing shopping at Galeries Lafayette. I love to enjoy life. I love good food. I love shopping. I love dressing up. I love learning, and I love feeling good. And I do that because I think that being a high performer, and that's what I want for me and for my clients, it's playing the long game. It's about the long haul. And to do that, you've got to enjoy the ride, the journey. It's a hard work, don't get me wrong. To be a high performer, to be in that top 95 to 99% of the executive population, you need to be working differently. You need to be doing things differently than your peers. You have to do to create bigger impact. You have to deliver excellent result. But what if you could do that whilst enjoying the ride, without it being a slog, without it being something that you hate, that you have to sacrifice, that you have to compromise, but instead it's something that you get to do and you enjoy it. Imagine that you have to do work, the same work. If you resent it, if you see it as something difficult, as something that you don't want to do, at the end of that work, you can't wait to get it done, get it over with. At the end of that task, you feel drained, you feel frustrated, you feel that you have no more energy to give. You can't wait to get over with work. But imagine that the same work, you do it with pleasure. You can't wait to do that work. You enjoy it. You are at your highest potential level. You are tapping into your strength. It's something that you love to do, you know how to do, and you know the result you are going to get, you are going to impact on. At the end of that work, you feel sad that it's over. You are not depleted at the end of that same task. You feel energized and you can't wait to do it again. And that's what the sophisticated executive that I coach and inspire in my coaching program, which I'm going to share with you at the end of the webinar. I can't wait to share that with you. That's what my clients have right now. They don't resent their work, they enjoy it because they are tapping into something different. They are in flow, that we call that magical state of flow, and they feel they are not depleting their ego. They are not sacrificing things that they don't want to do. They are not sacrificing things at the expense of things that they don't want to do. They enjoy every bit of it, and that's what I want for you. And if you're staying at this time, you are so far in the webinar and you are with me, you are ready to think differently, to shift your perspective and to step into your sophisticated executive era, then you are in the right place. Let's dive in. Over the next few minutes, 10 minutes or so, I'm going to help you really get clarity on where you are currently operating. How are you feeling right now? We are going to give you insight and tools to get into a snapshot of how you've been feeling this week. We are going to also give you insight into how your very strength can become your dark side, can sabotage your leadership performance. I'm going to give you very vivid examples, real life scenarios of how that happened. And I'm going to start bringing your attention and ask you to bring awareness and really become vulnerable on where you are doing that right now, and start realizing and gaining awareness of how that impacts your reputation, your emotional well-being, your mental well-being, your team, and your leadership climate. Then we are going to really begin to help you get the solution you need to step into your sophisticated executive era. Are you ready for this? I'm so excited. Let's dive in. So, as I said, I'm all about peak performance with a twist. right? I want to make high performance fun. And that's why you are here. If you are tired and frustrated and you are done with working hard without seeing your effort being compensated, without the needle moving forward, then you are in the right place. So imagine that you step into the boardroom, you have a boardroom meeting. You step into the boardroom, to your right, there is perfectionist Paul. Perfectionist Paul has to get everything right. All the I's need to be dotted and the T's need to be crossed. Everything needs to be delivered in the right timeline. The deadlines has to be met. The work has to be delivered in an excellent way. No details has to be left unturned. All the details have to be looked into. That's perfectionist Paul. On your left is people pleasing Pam. People pleasing Pam always put others' needs and feelings before her own. She feels that other people are more important. Their needs, their requests, their feelings are more important than hers. She views other people as having qualities that she covets, that she wants to have. She feels that she has lesser qualities than others, and therefore her needs come last. And that leaves her, although she is a good team player, she's always someone that has a lot of empathy, that's always there for other people. She feels a lot of resentment. She feels frustrated because no one is meeting her needs. No one is looking after her, and how her boundaries are being stepped over. She's always saying yes to others, other people's requests, anything that they need, whilst no one asking for her needs and no one's attending to her requests and her desires. So she's feeling depleted, she's feeling frustrated, and a lot of resentment boiling inside of her. Right in front of you is Skeptical Sam. Sitting in front of you across the table, Skeptical Sam always blows off any idea before it even has an opportunity to take off. He's always poking holes, finding the negative side of things. He's always seeing the glass half empty. So no project has any or idea has any chance of taking off because skeptical Sam is there to blow it, to see all the things that could go wrong. We all know those people, right? We all know a skeptical Sam that is in a meeting that really drains the energy of that meeting, that robs the energy out of any idea, that poke holes at every project before it even takes off. We all know a perfectionist Paul that is always really making sure that everything is done by the book. And we have a people pleasing Pam that's always there to look after everyone else's needs. And then we have to right across you to the left is Cautious Kathy. Cautious Kathy, or Kathy Cautious, is always making sure that no rules is being stepped over, that all the rules and regulations are abided to, that she's always careful to stick to the old ways of doing things, the traditional way of things that are needs to be done that way. And she's very resistant to any new ways of doing things, new ways of working, and she just wants to get things done in a very down to earth way. And we also have like imaginative Tom, let's say, imaginative Tom that has a lot of ideas, that always come up with new ways of doing things, that always is innovative, creative, but always creating chaos and confusion in his team because he's always changing his mind with his flexible approach. We all know those characters at work and in our life. Heck, we may even be one of those people. I was a people-pleasing Pam at some point, and also skeptical Sam if I'm not careful at other point. You want to be really honest with yourself. Where are you in those characters? And how is that really sabotaging your career? Let's look at that. So on a Tuesday afternoon, when there is nothing urgent, everything is normal, you being a logical thinker, like being skeptical, being cautious, doesn't do any harm. As a matter of fact, it's good when you are really thinking through things, making sure everything is good to go, making sure that deadlines are being met. But imagine the same characteristic on a Friday morning when there are urgent deadlines to be met, when things are hectic. Imagine skeptical Sam being argumentative instead of his regular logical mind that would serve him in normal decision making and thinking process. He's now on overdrive. What does that look like? It looks like him creating arguments and creating conflict and tension in relationship. He would argue with others because he wants to test the veracity and the validity of the arguments, and he's going to really create fight and getting aggressive when under pressure, when he's feeling stressed. He is creating tension in team meetings. Or imagine, let's imagine a perfectionist Paul, when on a regular Tuesday afternoon, it's good that he is perfectionist. It's good to deliver work at that level. But on overdrive, when he's stressed, he becomes a micromanager. Instead of encouraging his team to leverage their strengths and express their opinions and give them the opportunity to do the work, he micromanages the work. He wants to control every aspect of the details of their work, and it frustrates the team. And instead of getting the work done in a timely manner, he becomes so obsessive with the details that he nearly missed the deadline, and he gets everyone on his team on edge. Can you see now where your very strength, whether you are a logical thinker, you are an attention to detail, you are highly conscientious, you are very good at delivering excellent work under pressure, how you become a micromanager, a perfectionist that can miss deadline, leads everyone to frustration. And can you see how being a people pleaser is good on a regular Tuesday afternoon when there is no pressure, but under stress, you get so overdrive on pleasing others that you can't say no. You become resentful to the point that your work suffers. I want you to become really honest here. This is a safe place. Where are your very strengths sabotaging your reputation? Because imagine skeptical Sam losing his composure under stress. He goes from passive to being aggressive. He goes from being a logical thinker to getting into arguments in board meetings, in team meetings. Can you see how that impacts his reputation at work when he loses it? Because he's under stress. Now we look at your very strength. It's a good thing. A strength can really help you. It's your talent. You are very confident about those characteristics. We've seen that under stress, those very strengths become your shadows. They become extreme behaviors. They are almost what we call defensive habits. Kathy Cautious will be so close off under pressure that she would be very resistant to any change. She would resist change so much that she won't be open to any innovation in the company. Can you see how your very qualities can become extreme under pressure? I want you to become really aware. This is very important here. You want to become aware of how you are overdoing your strength, how you are overplaying it under pressure, thinking that it is a good thing when that thing is becoming too much. Ever heard of the word too much, of the phrase too much of a good thing can become a bad thing. That's what's happening to skeptical Sam, to perfectionist Paul, and people-pleasing Pam, Kathy Cautious and skeptical Sam. You have to and there are a lot of other examples, but for the sake of this webinar, we are covering just those few examples here. And if you want to dive deeper and know exactly where you are at, what are your strengths, and how are you using the very strength and overplaying that, and in what situation at work, then there will be an opportunity, a solution for you to do that. Stay till the end of the webinar to learn how you can get access to knowing exactly where you are operating. Now let's look briefly at how those extreme behaviors take place. I'll give you a brief example. We'll look at your trigger scale. Your trigger scale, imagine your nervous system operates from a scale. It's a switch, really. It's a dimmer switch. It's not an on and off switch, but let's imagine that you have two modes of operating in your nervous system. You've got the sympathetic nervous system mode, which is activated when you are in stress mode, when you are in alert mode, and that is a good thing. It leads you, or cortisol goes up, adrenaline goes up, it leads you to take action. And you have four stress response. Briefly, you have the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn response. And you want to be also aware what responses you take for, and how does that show up at work for you. Just briefly, before we go to the next mode of your nervous system, your first stress mode, which is the fight one, is where you perceive the threat as lesser than your strength. You perceive that you have strength to be able to deal with the threat, and that is where you get into fight mode, and you want to know how that shows up for you. Do you go from passive to aggressive and you get into arguments, you fight? How does that show up for you? You want to gain insight into that. Or do you get into flight mode? That is, you perceive the threat. You perceive the threat as bigger than your capabilities, and you flee from the threat by really running away from your responsibilities, blaming others, instead of owning it and taking responsibility of your role and deal with the threat. You want to really know what distortion is being created in your mind for you to either see the threat as bigger than your capabilities or lesser than your capabilities, and you do stupid things. You make mistakes, naive mistakes that can cost you a lot. You can make calls that you shouldn't make in your role. I've seen executives derail and their career goes down the drain because of that mistake, because they thought that their role gave them the power to make calls that they shouldn't have made. They shouldn't have made in their roles, and that has led them to be dismiss, to be really losing their job, right? So you want to be really careful. And the third response, the freeze mode, that can lead you to become paralyzed. You get into analysis paralysis. You get into the rabbit hole of doing research, of looking at the details, when you should just be taking action and just deliver the work. And you risk missing deadlines. Your perfectionist tendencies under pressure leads you to micromanage, to frustrate your team, to procrastinate, to get into analysis paralysis. So you want to really become aware of, and there are many others, but for the sake of this webinar, I'm only able to give you some examples here. And the fourth one, the phone response under stress, it's people pleasing, not having boundaries, really overloading your back with work, overwhelming yourself, overwork, feeling so overwhelmed, feeling tired, feeling drained, feeling resentful at work. That is you in your sympathetic nervous system. And then the other mode is your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest. This is where you are when you've been in alert mode, but now there is no danger. You are not scanning your environment, there is no threat. You are relaxed, you are calm. It's like you on a Friday afternoon, or you being so calm, so rested, so recovered. It's just like you just came back from a holiday from France, and you are peaceful, you are relaxed, you are in your zone of recovery. You want to know how you've been feeling this week. Have you been feeling constantly irritated, frustrated, having a low-grade stress where when you were not at work, it still felt that you were thinking about work. You were having a meal with your family, but you were thinking about work. It was a Saturday morning. The first thing you did when you woke up was your mind went back to work and you checked your email, or you were on your phone. And then Monday came, you didn't feel rested. You feel that you want to go on a holiday when you just came back from a holiday, because you were not detached emotionally and you were not detached mentally from work, although physically you were not at work. So you want to know where you were during the past week. Were you in a zone of you were motivated, activated, ready to work on a Monday, ready to take on solutions, ready to take on problems and solve them with creative ways? Or were you feeling that the tiny little problem overwhelmed you, irritated you, and you just hope and prayed that nothing would go wrong on a Monday morning because you don't have the capability, the mental capability to take on anything further? Or you felt that when you went home, you don't want to hear of any problems from your wife or children. You just want to veg on the couch because you are so drained. You were so drained from work. Where were you on a scale of 0 to 10? 0 being you were very rested, recovered, ready to work. You were really recovered, you slept well, you had a lot of rest. And then when you were at work, you went to a 5 to 6, activated, alert, really energized, really focused on your work? Or were you at a 7, 8, 9, 10 at work where you were triggered, you were one notch away, you were constantly at a 4, 5, and you were just 2 to 3 notch away from being triggered, where you would lose composure, or you would close up, or you would freeze, or you would flee away from responsibility? If you were constantly in that low-grade stress zone where you felt that every problem would overwhelm you, you would be irritated, you were at capacity, and a tiny little problem could throw you off, you were operating and running from an overfried, overactivated nervous system, which meant that when you should be recovering and getting back to zero so that you could be ready to work and be at a 5 to 6, you were at a 4, 3, 4, 5, constantly scanning your environment, feeling a threat when there was no threat, and that could look like a loud noise would startle you. A little problem would throw you off course, would throw you off the handle. You would lose your temper, you would be irritated, you would shout, you would snap. Or bright light would really overwhelm you. So you want to be really aware of where you are operating at. This is so important. So we've hopefully you've got awareness. You start to understand how your nervous system impacts your performance. How you have awareness on your strength can help you create impact at work, and how overplaying your strength could derail your performance. Your very strength can be derailers of performance at work if you are not conscious and if you are not aware of that. And let me tell you, running from an overfried nervous system, being constantly on overdrive, using too much of your strength and making use of excessive behaviors that derail your performance not only impact your reputation at work, not only impact your team negatively, you also create a survival leadership climate at work. You impact the emotional climate of your work environment because you are the CEO, you are the executive, and you've got team under you. Your emotional regulation is key. Your emotional intelligence, understanding how your emotions, where you are at, and how they impact your performance, and how they trigger your behavior, your defensive habits are paramount for you to create either a thriving culture at work where everyone feels safe, feel that they can make mistakes, that they are learning, they are growing, they can tap into their full potential, and that is your team, or they feel that they are in a survival climate where your team feels that they constantly need to be on guard with you. They have to hide things because they fear that you'll lose it at any time. So, if you are in those zone of operating in a burnout state where you are constantly running at a free fall when you should be at a zero, and you are running with an overfried nervous system, you are ready to change that because you are tired of feeling drained. You want to enjoy your work, you want to step into your sophisticated executive era. Then I've got something for you. Are you ready? The introducing the sophisticated executive coaching program. As you can guess, working with me, there is only one of me, and I can serve so many at the one-on-one level. And working with me is a luxury. It's expensive. Working with me one-on-one is the amount is, I'm going to share that with you. It costs 18,000 euros to work with me one-on-one in my executive coaching program. But because you are here and I want to support more of you for a limited time only, this is going to be a one-time only thing because of the limited amount of time and the limited amount of people I can help you at this point. If you are tired, you want to change, you want to step into your confident self, having clarity, where you have control, where you are aware of your strength, you know where you are at, and you are aware of your tripping points, you know what trips you, you know what behaviors you have to be aware and cautious of and monitor and being able to regulate them under pressure. You know how you respond, and you can get your way back to center because you've got the tools and resources, and you want someone to be there by your side to look at your performance, your external performance, and give you feedback from an external perspective. You also want a customized plan to look at everything, your strength, your very strength that are turning into derailers, under what circumstances, how you react, what are your defensive habits under stress, are you in fight, freeze, or fawn mode, and how that looks like for you. You want to understand your psychology, you want to be on top of your mental game, your physical game, and your emotional game. Plus, you want to also understand your team's psychology and what they perceive as threat. You want to understand their strength and how you can leverage that to create a bigger impact. You want to also understand where they derail and how to coach them back and how to help them regulate their emotions so that you can be surrounded by A players. And on top of that, you also want to get rid of your internal insecurities, the loud voices that whisper, the doubts at nights that keep you awake. You want to remove them and replace them with esteem, with confidence. You want to feel in control of your career, of your impact, your leadership impact. Then the sophisticated executive coaching program is for you, and you get all the things, the pioneering assessment to give you the insight. You get the customized performance plan based on your assessment and diagnosis, and I give you feedback. You have my eyes to get into the tiny details. We say the devil is in the details, to correct your form in terms of your performance, to identify your landmines, your triggers, so that you don't lose it. You don't sabotage your career in the boardroom, in team meetings on a Friday morning when the pressure is high, and you can be taking the plane and fly to your favorite destination whilst on a regular work week, like my CEO clients, and be enjoying life whilst attending to your priorities, sitting in a cafe, whether that is in Paris or London, and eating a delicious croissant and enjoying tea, afternoon tea, a delicious meal. You get to have it all. Enjoy your life whilst having impact in your career, surrounded with A players, and creating a thriving environment in your workplace. If you want that, then for today only, you are going to get the 3-month sophisticated executive coaching program for only, get this, 8,999 only, instead of the 18,000 euros that you usually takes to work with me. But you have to hurry, this will go fast, and there are only a very limited spots available. I can't wait to support you in this new era. Are you ready to step into your sophisticated executive era? If that's you, I'll see you on the other side. My team will leave all the details below of how you can apply and get access to your sophisticated executive program with me, supporting you till the end of the year.